Welcome back, Chelsea fans, to another episode, YouTube special of the London is Blue podcast. Obviously, we are joined by a new guest today. Very excited about this one. Dan Lamb of the Wolfpack, one of the largest Wolves content creators out there. Welcome to the show, Dan.
What's up? You good?
Yeah, all good. We just did, a little bit of behind the scenes, just did a preview for your channel. Now we're doing one for ours, getting used to both of our squads and learning a little bit along the way. But we're really coming to you, Dan, for a little bit of opposition preview as Chelsea fans, right? It's the start of a new season. Second Premier League game of the season is against you guys. Last year, you guys did the double over us. Since then, we've stolen your best player. There's a lot of things going on here. So overall, kind of how are you feeling about the new season and what are you most excited about?
Optimistic. I'm optimistic. Like the idea we've actually kept our manager this time. Obviously, Julian Lopetegui left before we could even start. Last time we actually had a pre-season with a manager, and the pre-season's gone really well. Made some signings. We signed a number 9, which is unheard of for Wolves. Last time we did that was Raul Jimenez, and then obviously his injury, it speaks for itself. So it's just nice to have some of the jigsaw puzzle pieces sort of coming together now. And it's just nice to obviously have Gary ONeal at the helm. He's just signed a new contract. Nice to actually finally play a back 4 and not worry about having to go to a back 5 and losing that attacking threat, because ultimately we need to score goals. And I do think that's something that hopefully we can do a lot more of with more attacking options. Well, so yeah, just optimistic and just raring to go now.
Let's talk about Gary ONeal, because I think, if you were to look at the beginning of last season and all the shenanigans and drama that happened, right? He obviously comes in, very little time to get the squad ready, and I think does a pretty bang-up job, all circumstances considered. Yeah. What are your thoughts about him as a manager, specifically around what he was able to adapt to last year and how he's probably looking to change to kind of fit the team into more of his philosophy this year?
I'll be honest, when we first heard that Gary ONeal was replacing Julian Lopetegui, I don't think any Wolves fan was sort of throwing the red carpet out and saying this is going to be, a really good manager and a really good But what I don't know if you guys know, but in sort of the background staff of Wolves, we've got this guy called Matt Hobbs, who does all of the sort of technical stuff in the background, and he just said how well Gary came across. We interviewed a bunch of people, and it didn't matter that he hadn't got as much experience as some of the people that he was up against. What he said and the way he came across basically sold it for him. And then when I heard that, and after seeing how well Matt Hobbs has done for us signing wise, finding these little gems, I thought, you know what? Let's just give him a chance. Do you know what I mean? And then we saw the first game of the season against United, basically played him off the park, and he just came in 4 days before. So it was one of those things where we just needed some momentum, and we started to get that in the middle of the season last season. Really unlucky to not make a cup run, and some really, really, devastating injuries and things that led to sort of looking back and going, you know what, we need a lot more depth. And I think that's what we've been trying to address. So in terms of Gary ONeal, he's basically working on what he did last season and trying to stamp a little bit more of his philosophy on the game, on his game. I don't think he got a lot of time to do that last season, and having a pre-season now, I think he's been able to do that. So obviously going to about 4, not straying to try and stretch teams and breaking all our players' legs in the process. Yeah, it's just been nice. It's been really good. So I'm hoping that no one snatches him, because English managers are very sought after, especially young ones. So hope he does well, but not too well to leave us.
Where do you have Wolves finishing the season? Just a quick prediction.
Anywhere in the top half is good for me. Honestly, I'm not one of these overly optimistic people that sees Europe as a target. I feel like Europe would be great for the club. We've done it before and everything, but I just feel like we're in a transitional period now. We're starting to build a team around players that Gary likes. We're starting to build a team around who our scouting people have got in through Matt Hobbs and everything. And so I think anywhere in the top half is good enough for me. From 10th all the way up, I'd be happy with that. I think I'd be extremely disappointed if it's a season of fighting relegation. I don't think it's going to be personally. No. If it's one of those where we fall short at the end of the season and we just sort of miss being in the top half, I don't mind that. I just don't want to be in the bottom, fighting against it all. As long as we're comfortably in that top half, I'm happy, to be honest.
Let's talk about the Wolves squad really quick, because there has been some turnover. You guys have obviously sold Pedro Neto to us, and then on the other side have signed a few key players that will help you guys potentially edge your way into that top 10. Let's first talk about Neto, because I think our fans are dying to hear your perspective on the player that we just bought and the attributes that he has, I should say. What are you feeling about that as a signing, and how do you think that he will impact Chelsea?
I'll be honest. We were told as a club that we had to sell assets if we were to sort of bolster the squad. We didn't have to sell, but if we wanted to bolster the squad, we needed to sell some assets. And I looked at all the assets that they were talking about. So you got your João Gomez, Ryan Aït-Nouri, Cunha, and players like that, basically. And if I'm thinking, you add Neto to that equation, fairly a fantastic player, but like so many times he was injured for us and everything. And you have to sell an asset to sort of bolster the squad. I think everyone said that it would be Neto, to be honest, because he's a royalty player for me. Like, he fits in a top 6 side because you can rest him when he needs resting. You can sort of alter his minutes around and build his fitness and everything. And Wolves just didn't have the luxury of doing that at all. To be honest, we had to play our best players every game, and ultimately that would be Neto on that left side, because no one really came close. And when obviously it was said, "Oh yeah, we're selling him," I just think that it's the right time. I actually think it's the right time. I feel like he's been an incredible servant for us, one of our best players to wear the shirt. To be honest, one of the most exciting players to wear our shirt for sure. The ability to just absolutely bust a gut to get down the sides, cut teams open, left, right, and centre. I mean, he literally could probably play on the right side, if I'm honest. Like, he's that good with both feet. He could even probably, in the sort of latter stages of his career, probably even transition to sort of like a more 10 role, like a sort of playmaker, because he's just that good technically. Assist king for us as well, like last season, absolute assist king. If you look at the goals that we scored, with his help as well, it's a carbon copy pretty much every time. And it's all Neto creating those opportunities. So in terms of you guys, I think you've got a fantastic player, like probably one of the best wingers in the Premier League for me. You look at Man United, for example, and you look at some of the wingers that have come and gone for them. Neto gets in that squad straight away. And even when you look at City, I think like sometimes you look at Doku and you think he's getting into the right areas, but I always think Neto, with his mind and with his technical ability, he finds a player in the box, whereas Doku pretty much always puts it over or puts it too far over, or do you know what I mean? Like he just doesn't seem to have as much, he just doesn't seem to be switched on as Neto. So you've got a fantastic winger as long as you keep him fit, and that is the key. Like you said earlier, he's playing tonight. If you plan around his minutes and his fitness, he will be a phenomenal player and probably one of the best in the world, if I'm honest. But you've just got to manage his minutes.
Not knocking on wood as we speak to avoid a catastrophic injury. Have you seen my eyes go down? We are currently playing Servette, and so I'm keeping an eye on both things here.
I thought you were going to say then you were trailing or something because you looked at your eyes going down. I thought, oh god,
no, all good.
Nice.
So you guys sell Neto to free up some room financially to go bolster the squad. Can you talk about some of the new signings and how you think they're going to impact Wolves this season?
So we bought Rodrigo Gomez, who is a right-sided winger who we've played on the left, and you would think, oh, well, that'd make him an inverted winger, and but he's very, very clever in the fact that he gets to a certain part of the pitch and then he plays a few passes, very quick, very technical. Very exciting player. In the preseason, he got 3 goals as a winger, and he just come into the fray. So I thought that was very, very, very impressive. So I'm very excited about him. As I said earlier, we got a number 9, and that's Jürgen Strand Larsen, Norwegian centre forward, very much like Haaland, built, like a monster. But in different to Haaland is the fact that he's actually got quite a bit of pace about him, and he can break the line a little bit, which we've probably not had a central forward like that since we've gone into the Premier League. We've always very much been a target man sort of striker who's just going to poach a chance or whatever. This guy seems to be a little bit of everything. So very excited about him. We also signed a Pedro Lima, who is a left back. And what's been really interesting about him is that he's very, very young. Like he turned 18 after we signed him. And I don't know if I should say this, but you probably know this anyway, but we basically like stole him off you guys. Yeah. Which was fantastic because that just never happens for Wolves. It's always the other way around. So the fact that happened was great, and testament to who I was talking about earlier, Hobbs. I just feel like he just sells a story and a player to the club. And he looks awesome. Very, very excited player. Didn't get any minutes for the Arsenal game. Might be interesting that he may get minutes against you guys. Different profile to our other left back or right back because he can play either side.
Yep.
He is very quick and he can put in a very, very nice pass. So he's technically quite gifted as well. So those are our sort of 3 signings, and we made Doyle permanent from Man City, who sort of makes us tick in the middle if need be, if it's one of those games where we need to win a midfield battle. So, very positive. I still think we need more signings, though. We lost Kilman to West Ham, who was our centre-back, basically.
Yeah.
But, like, I say it quite loosely because I don't think we've missed him all that much, if I'm honest, from all the pre-season even to the Arsenal game. I don't feel like he was any better than the 2 centre-backs we played, and he's very susceptible in a back four. So we need more we need another centre back just to cover that sort of role, and we're looking at one. I think we've actually signed a young Frenchman, but we are looking at sort of a senior centre back as well, and then maybe a winger and maybe even a goalkeeper. From what I've heard, we've very heavily linked with Ramsdale at the moment from Arsenal.
Interesting.
So interesting. Interesting at the moment. Very much glued to the phone as you probably are as well for your transfers and everything.
We're recording this on August 22nd, so as you're listening to this, it's either 7 or 6 days left in the window to do a lot of business here. Let's get into the game a little bit, Dan, because I think it's an interesting game. You guys did the double over us last season, pretty convincing fashion. I think this is basically two new teams that are going to face each other, on the weekend. So if I'm looking at this game, where are you most excited, to see your team play? And then where are you most vulnerable? So where are you going to hurt us? Where are you most vulnerable?
It's hard to say. If I look at the Arsenal game, they hurt us probably by stretching us. So Saka literally just picked up the ball, stretched our back four, found acres of space, and either fed a pass in, or like Odegaard fed a pass in or something. So I think we need to be a lot more stubborn in our positioning, especially playing a top six side again. It's going to be interesting because it's our first home game. I think that always makes a difference with Wolves. I feel like we have some very good performances last season when we were at home. So there's a lot of factors that can sort of weigh into it. But I think that's where we get hurt the most, is being stretched by teams. So I'd argue probably not playing the sort of midfield game and sort of stretching us wide with the wing backs or any sort of system that plays out wide, really. I just don't feel like it suits us at all at the moment, because I feel like Ait-Nouri is always trying to get further up the pitch, and then you've got Doherty trying to sort of get back. And it's this dynamic where one of them's going forward and one of them's going back. So if you hit us on any counters during that, you could hurt us on the sides for sure. That will be a good game plan for you guys. In terms of our strengths, I feel like it's another one of those games where Wolves will just play, thinking, well, we've got a very hard run in to the season. There's going to be more games of where we should dominate and demand 3 points. Whereas I feel like this will be one of those where, as long as we don't lose catastrophically, I feel like it's more performance than anything else. And I think that like I said earlier, I think it's going to be really interesting, because these are two very different sides to last season. You know what I mean? Like, even though we've got the same manager, we're playing a completely different system with different players, not relying so much on the wings. And then you've got you guys, new manager, also new players. So it's going to be very interesting. And I think the first 15 to 20 minutes, I think that'll be where you need to hurt us, because I feel like we grow into games. So if you can hit us early, I think that'll hurt us a lot, because Wolves really tend to grow into games. We've seen that all through pre-season. We saw it even in the Arsenal game. I think Arsenal were on the ropes until they scored that second goal. So yeah, hurt us early, stretch us, counter-attacks for sure, when our wing-backs are too high up the pitch.
Yeah, it's interesting because, like Maresca's system is not a counterattack system. It's not built on pace. It's built on stability and intelligent possession. And, So it's going to be fascinating to see possession stats at the end of this one. Obviously, our first game is against City. Your first game is against Arsenal. Those are possession dominant teams. And, the way that we played against City was different than we predicted we'd play. Like, it was a lot more on the counter. There were a lot more long balls. So I'm curious if we catch you guys napping, from a fullback's perspective, if there is going to be that ability to kind of stretch the field a little bit. If not, I think we are going to be really interesting when it comes to, who plays on the wings, because it'll probably be some combination of Palmer and Kunku. We just added Joao Felix this week and Nico Jackson. And so those are very different players with, some work to do to build a familiarity amongst each other. I think you guys can hurt us defensively. We are not a well-drilled unit right now defensively. We were better against City than I thought we would be, to be fair, but their first goal, they cut through us like a hot knife through butter. It was just all through the midfield.
Do you think they got out of first gear?
Yeah, I mean, it was just brute one stuff right through the middle, and neither one of our center backs stepped up to close the space, and that's what you get. So it's going to be really interesting to see if they learn some of those lessons or not. In a week, obviously playing right now, but that's going to be fascinating because I think the team will turn over. A lot of the starters from City are not playing against Servette. I think a lot of the starters will come back in to face you guys at the weekend.
It should be interesting. I'd be interested to see how many minutes Neto gets then if he's starting tonight. It'd be interesting to see how many minutes he's going to get.
Not likely to start against you guys. Probably 30 max. I think second half sub probably. What's your score prediction to round this one out?
So my heart is saying 2-1 Wolves.
Okay. Yeah.
But my head's saying probably like a 1-1, like you said. Maybe even like a 1-0. Someone nicks a goal late on. I don't see it being a high scoring game, if I'm honest, because it's two teams that don't really know one another, and it's going to be a lot of back and forth, almost like a chess match. So yeah, either I'll go 2-1 just to make me feel better.
I will go 1-1 draw. I think that feels about right now, and obviously. Said this multiple times. Transfer window, as you're listening to this, is closing very quickly within the week. And so, after everything that goes on with the window, we'll finally be able to figure out if we have a full squad or if there's still holes and all that sort of stuff. But Dan, really appreciate you joining the YouTube video here for the preview.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Where can folks find you guys if they're interested in your content?
So it's Wolfpack WWFC. Across all social media. Wolfpack WWFC. Yeah.
All right. Well, until next time, Chelsea fans, you know what to do. Keep the blue flag flying high.